Previously on Reforged.
The clouds kind of separate and you see like this six-winged creature in the sky, and it unfurls its wings and like this cloud of black something goes across the battlefield. All of the people that are in dark plate mail are all prone, and all that's left are the nomadic people.
Look, a creature of Deicide sitting on a Deicide throne in a Deicide room. My name is Daedalus.
Inside these nets, there is something being dragged through the water. Looks kind of like a bird. Talvar, it kind of reminds you of like a dove back in the Foxland that was mangled by a fox. Its heart's been ripped out.
The god of axioms and order is dead. Your will is the law now. The witch hides under the mountain of the bear. Slayer. There's no witches beneath the bear mountain. I don't think you understand the word hide.
Sir, if I could just maybe have one little bit of Deicide if we do this for you.
Give me your word.
You can have every word that I have.
Maybe don't be so quick to swear your soul to this thing.
He wants us to go kill someone that turned him down, and then you turned him down.
And he reaches his hand forward towards like this heart, and like everything in that circular area is just pulverized to a fine mist.
So the god is mad.
There is absolutely no reason to stop whatsoever. Safety first.
And yes, Simon is there too, and he's like, tell me exactly what you've seen.
Oh yeah, there was a god down there.
Hey everyone, I'm Austin.
I'm Ian.
I'm Zoe.
And I'm Ty.
Thanks for tuning in to Reforged, Episode 7. All right, so you guys have recently just got back aboard the Alabaster, and the last thing that happened is Simon begged for you to tell him what you saw down there. And let's begin there.
Okay.
I already left because
man.
when it happened, I said, we saw a god down there, and then I walked away.
Right now I'm in the process of probably making a necklace out of all the little shards that I got
How?
with all my strings.
Oh, what were those shards called again?
Oh, what was... Hey, Hugs, you wouldn't by chance remember what this exact mineral is called?
Hugs takes a look at it. Deicide.
Oh, I knew... I had a feeling it was that.
Yes.
Thanks. All right, so you want an explanation for what happened down there, correct?
Yes, that would be much appreciated.
All right, well... I'm not sure if I'm the best one to explain it, but there was a giant god down there named...
Deicide.
What was his
It
name?
was like
Deicide.
Let me look in my notebook. Daedalus. Yeah.
Yeah, Daedalus.
Daedalus.
Yep.
I missed the L.
I think Zephyr probably... hopefully, yeah, he knows.
Actually, the way I want the scene to play out is Hugs and Pippi, I think you two are going to stay atop deck, and you're going to be explaining things to Simon. We don't need to go back through everything that just happened. But so...
Windmill effect.
Would Talvar go downstairs, do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, he goes below cabin, I guess maybe to get some sleep or something.
He wants to go stare at the stone and try and see if he can figure out what it is.
It's Deicide.
Well, you gave the hot stone to...
Not the hot stone, the Deicide.
Oh, you
He
have...
has no idea what it is still.
Even though Hugs has been
heard its
exclaiming
name,
it.
but he still doesn't know what it is.
All right, so Talvar, you have just made it down onto, I guess, B1. It's the armory, and that's when you hear someone running down behind you. And you turn around, and it's Zephyr. And he's got his regular proud face and stance, but there's something weird going on with him. If you'd like, you can make an insight check.
15.
You know Zephyr just well enough that you can pinpoint what it is. He actually seems a little bit hurt. He looks wounded or perhaps a little bit betrayed. That's confirmed shortly thereafter when he says, hey, man, do you have a second?
I guess.
I I guess I don't know why I'm saying this, but I'm a little concerned that you just kind of took off on us down there. I mean, you kind of left us behind, dude. I thought we were tight, yo.
Did you just say yo?
His hand on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah, really. I mean, we're a team, aren't we?
I'm not entirely sure. You were just kind of useless on the ground there, so I decided to get out.
Ouch.
I had no idea it was British.
There's quite an amount of hurt that crosses over his face.
Oh, Zephyr.
Like a wounded puppy.
Yeah.
Sparkles.
And it seems like the gems on his robes just twinkle a little bit less in that moment.
Even the stones have souls.
And, he says, I'm sorry, I brought it up. And he turns around and goes back upstairs. And that's when you guys kind of finish your conversation up top. And Simon is pretty...
Perturbed.
Yeah, he's perturbed. That's a good word for it. Because, as you recall, he isn't traumatized over, all of his serpent clanmates being murdered. There seemed to be, when he talked to you before, he had suggested that he was looking for a solution to the problems of the elk people, and maybe it was in that God's power to restore the stars or whatever else. And Simon just continues and says, do you think there's any way we can deal with him?
We could punch him in the face.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I'm just kind of staring at these beautiful crystals in my hand, wondering how thank you. This beautiful deicite in my hand, I'm wondering, could you repeat the question?
Do you think there's any way we can bargain with this god?
Well, what is it in particular you think we can get from him?
Well, Pontifex Ramil had suggested that we could restore the elk people.
Well, I mean, I may just be speaking out of experience, but isn't life full of situations where we need to learn from and wars, and you can't undo that stuff? We've experienced it, and there's no putting it back together except for hard work and labor. We can't just wish our freaking lives back together. That's ridiculous, Simon. I'm talking to Simon, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, you've stunned him for a moment, and he reels back and
he's a god too, so yeah.
He says, "I'm sorry. I guess old habits die hard. We've been looking for this thing for a very long time."
It's true, but we have been working very hard back home. I know you left. I'm a little bitter about that, but. Well,
yeah, he gives you a squinty-eyed look.
Hugs is just awkwardly standing there like, okay.
Well, Pippi definitely notices how salty she's getting and immediately composes herself and is like, look, Simon, we can probably reason with him, and I think we already have. We've struck a deal where our mission is to kill this witch of divestiture. What's it called? Divestiture?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Of divestiture to be free of something. And it's in the Mountain of the Bear, and that seems to be our next goal.
Which I still think is mistaken. There are no witches in the Bear Mountains.
Well.
Skyward Mountains.
Simon looks
It's
back.
not Sky Witch Mountains.
He just keeps going.
Simon looks back and forth and trying to figure out what to do, and that's when Captain Ivory starts speaking, and she says, I think the most important thing we need to focus on right now is actually dealing with the mission at hand. Coral wanted you to gather weapons, correct?
Yes.
That is correct.
And I do so happen to remember that you described some kind of battle on the Raven Coast, was there not?
Yes.
There was one, yes.
And that's probably our first objective.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you guys are very agreeable. Okay.
I agree with everything you have just said. Let's finish one candy bar before we open another
I
one.
completely forgot Zoe was obsessed with the captain.
What's our candy bar?
Just agrees with things.
You're a beautiful woman, and everything that comes out of your mouth is gold.
Does Pippi say that?
I mean, I say it, and I don't realize how loud it is.
Hugs will just look down and just... Admirable.
Pippi says that, but unfortunately, Captain Ivory was turning to talk to someone else as soon as you said it.
That's fine.
So it's kind of lost on deaf ears and Hugs.
Hugs would just look down with a big old grin and just like, someone has a crush.
Shut up. Do not.
Oh, I'm going to help you.
Oh my
it's
God.
going to be marvelous.
Oh my God.
Captain Ivory turns to Gallytrix and says, well, let's set sail for the Raven Coast, shall we?
Yes.
And the big sails on the Alabaster unfurl, and you're just operating off of wind at this point, but it still hauls pretty quick.
Cool.
And so you guys are going to be to the coast in probably about 5 minutes or so.
Sweet.
Oh, nice.
The Raven, or sorry, the Serpent layer was not too far from the coast at all. So is there any preparations you need to make before you get there?
Not really. I just need to get
Hugs
my
will
stuff back.
probably try and find the captain and just kind of approach her and just be like, Captain, may I have a word?
Yes, absolutely.
I see that you have a pep in your step. Oh, by the way, Pippi was looking for you.
Oh my God.
And then I'll leave.
Yeah.
And then like Hugs will just look back over at Pippi and just big old wink and it's like and giant thumbs up.
Hugs, no. I'm putting my hands, I'm flailing them about like, no, Hugs, no. Oh my God.
Captain Ivory heads straight towards you.
I don't need this.
She walks up and she says, you've summoned me.
Oh my
Hugs is
God.
still in the background. Yeah.
I am always happy to see your face, so I suppose I'm always summoning you. I love your leadership skills and respect you dearly. You can go about doing your business, and I run. I run so fast.
Hugs just like, good job.
Well, I turn around and give her like a tiny little piece of deicite and close it in her hands and look her straight in the eye and do that, and then I run.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh.
I love you. Here's money. God.
It's magic and beautiful just like you, and I leave.
I would like to accompany that. Roll a performance and or a persuasion.
Oh God, I just drop it and it
Yes.
falls through the deck. I got a 22 on that.
Hugs, insight.
16.
All right, so Hugs is a little bit lost on like true depths of emotion or whatever is happening.
Heck yeah.
I mean, Captain Ivory, like, she flushes a little bit, and Hugs is pretty sure that she is just embarrassed that like somebody said this random thing and she couldn't figure it out.
What a weird comment.
That's all right. Hugs is proud of himself and thinks that he's done a good job.
Okay.
Hugs has done good.
He's so proud of what he's done. I love it.
All right. As you guys near the coast, Aileen comes aboard and she looks around and just kind of like waves her arms like in a gesturing motion. She's not loud enough to like yell across the deck. Mm-hmm. She's still a very old lady. I've been directly told by Coral that I need to instruct you on, let's say, ambassadorial relationships. Not to be rude, but you four are a very interesting group of adventurers.
I totally agree.
That is a very true statement.
And those cloaks you have around your shoulders, and she looks at Hugs, around your waist, it seems, are
That's right.
very respected symbols of Lord Coral, and so you should represent his image accordingly.
Of course, we will strive to represent Lord Velvet in all of his endeavors.
I definitely notice what she's trying to say, and I blush even more if that's possible than I possibly can. I'm like, I'm so sorry for embarrassing the crest. That was not our intent.
No, you're quite all right. But what I want to get to is that I know all of you have come from your own different little cultures and come from around the world, but each individual culture and sometimes even individual villages have their own cultural, let's say, oddities, and not knowing those could be quite disruptive to your missions, we should say.
Hugs is staring very intently, but he probably doesn't even understand what she's saying.
I got a 20 on secretly flipping her off behind her back.
Whoa! Is Talvar just like, fuck old lady? Like, why?
Talvar's turning into a real prick.
Yeah, did he just like pop up like a golfer and he's like, alien, and then goes back down? Okay.
I'm just in a bad mood today. I'm sorry.
I guess so.
I guess just water in general puts you in a bad mood because you are a fire type.
That's true. It's a fire Pokemon. Talvar.
The ocean is
Super
super effective.
But nobody saw it, so that's the best part.
No, roll a sleight of hand if you're really flipping off Alien.
I just rolled a 20.
All right, apparently you did so good because neither Ivory Gallitrix or Alien herself saw it. So, though she is a spy master, if her head flips around like an owl, just like, don't flip me off. Anyways, go on.
In a weird way, that kind of just makes it pointless. Talvar didn't even get noticed by anyone.
That was for him, though. That was a little treat for Talvar.
Yeah, or just a treat for us. We'll see if it makes it into the podcast.
And scene. Continue.
And Aileen continues, and she says, "So I do not know much about the Raven people, especially the Southern Raven people. But there's something you should know. All of them have, well, many of them have some sort of illness, some kind of disease across their skin, and so it's pretty customary to try to hide your entire body." And then she looks over at Hugs, who is shirtless.
Hugs is still staring intently, not registering what she just said.
I fit in perfectly with this group then.
I've taken the liberty to make you some vestments, I guess. And she hands you just this dark robe. It's almost pitch black, but it has a red tinge to it, and it does have Coral's crest across the front.
That's sick.
So she gives an oversized one to Hugs. Or not oversized, it fits Hugs.
Yep.
And she gives a little tiny one to Pippi.
Oh my god. It's beautiful, Aileen.
Hugs will just begin tying it around his waist.
And Aileen's like, no. The point is, and she says, you even have to cover your face. Most of them, you can only see their eyes.
Pardon? You're telling me to cover this, as he motions across his face. All of this.
His Hugs like vein like that.
Well, I mean, he has some pretty meaningful tattoos on his face.
He's had flexing contests with people just because he thought he was more muscular than that. He is a very, very vain Colossus.
Maybe he's just very proud of what he's accomplished.
Same thing.
He's just proud of himself and how he looks and wants people to know about it. So we put it on, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the stuff.
Who wouldn't put it on properly?
Probably Hugs.
Hugs just wouldn't?
Like, he would look at her and he basically is like, you're telling me to cover the sacred markings of my people. Would you tell a lion to cover its mane?
She stares up at Hugs, and you can tell she's contemplating the exact perfect thing to say. She's kind of like that sort of spy master.
Ooh.
And she says, is it the custom of your people to affront the honor of others?
Hugs is like puzzling for a second. No, we honor everyone who comes to our tribe.
Well, going into the Raven clan without wearing this vestment and showing off your bare skin, which is healthy and unblemished, will basically prove, or you'll technically be saying to them that you are healthy and they are not, and it will shame them.
I see. The sheer awesomeness of my physique is a downside for them. For it is something they could never achieve.
And they'll probably never fight you.
She sighed.
You're right.
Which would be a shame for your whole demeanor.
I must hide under these clothes like a coward. That way they would actually think to fight me.
Yeah, that's exactly
Very well.
right.
And Hugs puts on the robe.
Do I have to put on that robe or can I keep my own?
That's up to Talvar.
Because mine is still full coverage and I even have a face mask for the desert sands. So
Yeah.
it's...
Then we wouldn't be matching.
It depends how you think like Talvar would react to this.
He would just pull on the mask.
Just that sandy mask?
Yeah.
So you're going to decline the vestments? Mm-hmm. Okay.
He's already got the mark of coral on the cloak on top. And
right.
he's got a full coverage robe, so it's...
And Aileen says, all right then, and she takes it back out of your hands. I'm not going to dictate exactly how you behave. I'm just here to serve as a guide. So if you're ever about to interact with any individuals or any cultures, you can come back and talk to me. But otherwise, you're on your own to investigate and see how they react to you.
Very well.
Let's go talk to everybody.
Yeah. And this is going to be a permanent standing mechanic in the world of Kindred. As you go around to these different cultures, different cities, or maybe even just the entire people will have certain customs. And if you don't know how to follow them, then it's going to give you a disadvantage on certain rolls. You might be attacked outright, or people won't trust you. All of you have an advantage on knowledge rolls in your own lands. And if it's common knowledge, you'll just know it. But so far we've covered Fox Desert, Elk Lands, and Bear. So kind of more civilized tribes. So more of the uncivil. Well, Fox is technically kind of uncivilized if you're according to like the Wales dogma.
Burn.
You swine.
I don't know. The city
No,
itself is still
you
pretty
vulpine.
sophisticated, though, isn't it? I mean, besides how they treat their people and
Yeah. No, yeah, as far as politics. But definitely the Raven Clan and the Wolf Clan are the most unpredictable. And so you kind of wanted to be more careful. And perhaps that's why Alien's kind of being like this.
Well, thank you, Aileen. We really appreciate all the help.
Oh, anytime. Oh, and one more thing. I don't know if it's going to apply too much to the land or locale you're going to, but I need to teach you a phrase. And she gives you a phrase in Ancient Raven. And she says, and we can make that up at some
I
point.
get out my notebook.
Yeah, someone can help make up a cool phonetic phrase that people could say. We'll make it a podcast thing. But she says, translated into common, it means sort of, may the night be your ally. And in particular, the Ravenlands are dangerous at night. I'm not entirely sure why. So you should take that into consideration. But it's a great departing phrase. Don't use it when you first meet someone.
I
it
take
will
the
offend
cloak.
them. You do?
Yeah, when she tells me the thing, because I realize I'm wearing a really white, light, colorful thing.
Okay.
And he's like, I will stand out in the dark.
Okay.
It's a beacon
Like,
in
it
the
literally
night.
just sinks in, and he's like,
All right. Gallytrix kind of shouts over you guys as you're talking with Aileen, and he says, all right, we've docked. Whenever you're ready, please depart. Crew, standing order, stay on full defense. You know the drill. And you see the soldiers get oddly defensive, and they start like kind of getting near cannons and things like that. Apparently this is a very practiced thing on the Alabaster.
Oh.
And so there is some crew members that come up with this, like you didn't see it at first because it's a pretty smooth chunk of the Alabaster, but they actually reach down with these hooks and pull out this like huge ramp, and they kind of prop it up against the side, and it leads down to the mainlands, and it's made of that white tree of some kind of rare oak that doesn't really get water damage or anything. And you guys have access to the mainland.
Sweet.
Let's go, everybody.
Let's get back on land.
Captain Ivory says, oh, and I hope there wasn't any misconceptions. We are ordered to stay here with the boat. It is just you four that should be departing.
That's fine.
Okay.
We are the chosen ones.
I was just talking with... That's right. Yeah, I was just talking with Sunny, and I had realized perhaps I gave the wrong impression. Or perhaps I didn't. Anyways, good luck out there.
I think I would have already departed before this, though, once they lowered the ramp.
As soon as it touches
He's just
ground.
like sliding down on it like a
Pretty
skateboard.
much. He just hops over, and he's like,
Hops over the bow.
Out.
he doesn't like boats.
Hey guys, it's me, Austin. Just jumping in here real quick. Wanted to say thank you so much for being patient with me while I got over this illness over the weekend. And I'm real excited to get this episode out to you. I hope you are enjoying it so far. And we will be having another episode release in just a few days. You should have it in your podcast feed by Monday morning. So stay tuned for that. I'm real excited. It's going to be a good one. But even more exciting, I have this week's Artist Spotlight. And this artist is a huge inspiration for me. I wanted to start the Artist Spotlight specifically because I knew I would get to highlight and showcase this artist in the future. And that artist is Katiran. She performs solo projects, but also with the band Leaf. And you will be hearing her music here shortly. A track called Surin, and it's single-handedly has inspired a significant portion of this campaign. And interesting, I just wanted to say I was listening to an interview with Katiran, and she was saying her music is inspired by her drive to connect people to nature and history through her music, and so I thought that was really inspiring, and it rings pretty true to what I'm trying to do here with the Kindred campaign. So anyways, I'm going to let you guys get back to it. Oh, also, thank you again. I really just can't say how much I appreciate you guys liking and subscribing, especially on some of those big networks like iTunes or YouTube. And it's been real fun getting to talk to everyone on our Twitter feed. I've been listening to almost every podcast that comes and interacts with us, so that's been a lot of fun. This has been a great community, but I'm going to let you guys get back to the episode. Remember, stay tuned for episode 8 coming out in a few days, and then we'll be regular scheduling after that. Okay, see you guys. You guys step off this white plank, I guess, and the land is pretty spooky at this point. The evening is starting to kind of sunsets probably in a few hours. The land before you is this dark volcanic rock, and the ocean is dark behind you, and the alabaster stands out with the torches and the bright white wood. But it's almost like stepping out of the light into the dark. Notably, the ground around this area almost, it's odd at first, but it almost looks like the scales on the back of a dragon. Whoa. There's these small ponds that are kind of in diamond shaped, and they seem to just be staggered like scales on a fish. And the water they're holding is this like weird blue and silvery algae that's growing on top of it. Wow. So these plains are pretty interesting. And if you don't watch your footing pretty carefully, you might trip fairly easily. It probably would be considered difficult terrain as far as combat is concerned.
I'm going to empty one of my water skins and fill it up with this weird blue water.
I probably wouldn't drink that.
That's gross.
It's not the plan to drink it.
That water has a smell of like, it's got a little bit of a mossy smell, but it's definitely acrid, and it has this that smell of sulfur and almost vinegar to it.
This place smells real bad. I
Yeah,
can
it
see
does.
why they're all
Yep.
diseased.
It's a good thing we have the face masks.
So
I pull
and
my face mask up a little bit because it smells so bad. Just like, oh no.
so are all of you completely covered at this point?
Mm-hmm.
Hugs
Hugs,
wasn't, but
yeah.
stepping down and smelling it, kind of like what Zoe was just talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, oh.
All right.
Slowly lifts up the
I see
scarf.
why.
All of you have appropriate footwear as well.
Mhm.
I guess
Yes.
I haven't talked about it before, but
Hugs has
cool.
got some pretty thick boots.
I think
I
so
don't-
as well.
I don't know if mine would be appropriate for somewhere like this.
It's at least covered. You're not
You got
going to
little
scratch your
Aladdin shoes?
Yeah, they're covered. No, they're like almost knee-high boots that are like tightly strapped all the way up and down. And
Oh,
they're
cool.
pretty much moccasins, if you can picture that.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, nice.
You definitely notice that the volcanic rock, there's a few places that like would have sliced straight through the skin. They're almost razor sharp in certain places. So you do have to be careful in this territory.
Hugs will kind of like nudge Pip a little bit, like with his finger, and just be like, is this more deicite? I can't tell.
I don't think it's deicite, my dude.
Okay.
And you guys continue onward mainland. Zephyr is kind of doing this odd little dance, trying to stay on the ridges of the scales, if you were, and try to avoid the puddles. And every time he sloshes in one, he looks down at his shoes disappointedly.
Do you want to ride on my shoulders?
He looks at you
we're not
super
doing
that. He's like, oh, no, I think I'm all right, little big guy.
All right. And you look pretty down about your shoes. I'd hate to see you so
It's
down.
all right. They only cost 200 gold, but you know, whatever.
I've never seen that much money.
So everyone, dexterity saving throw.
12.
4.
23.
Okay, Pippi, you're low enough to the ground that you can see like there's one of the scales that starts to bubble, and you quickly dodge out of the way, and the three of your friends get into it. Like Hug steps over and like on top of it, and like a geyser like rockets into his crotch, and it sprays out and hits Talvar and Zephyr and just drenches them. And Hugs is lifted off the ground a little bit.
Whoa!
It's like a Marilyn Monroe situation.
Oh my!
And
I
Hugs,
haven't felt this good since. Wait, what?
you, you take 2 points of heat damage from Old Faithful. Yeah, pleasure damage.
All right. Hugs is still fine.
We found his thing, everybody. It's geysers.
Geysers.
So, like, this water had, like, drenched and kind of bounced around the inside of your cloak, which you realize has a little bit of a water resistance to it. And immediately from the heat, the water evaporates off, and it's left this, like, salty crust on the top of your skin.
This is an unpleasant feeling.
So,
I don't like this place, you guys. It's getting a bad
gross.
feeling.
but it was hot enough. You take 2 points of heat damage, and now you guys are all you've got to a point on the mainland where there's enough of these geysers that there's a mist surrounding you, and you've lost sight of the alabaster.
Does compasses work?
You have no compasses. The only ability that would let you know where north is the keen eye or keen mind feat.
Don't have it.
Nope. Everyone who wants to can roll a survival check.
17.
Oh, and this is a good point to mention too.
18, yeah.
18? Okay.
Total of 20.
Okay. In some of these situations, when I say if everyone can roll if they want to, if you have one person roll and they get like a 20 or a natural 20, I'm going to make the effect really big. But overall, if everyone rolls, I'm going to kind of average them out. So it's not, you don't have a 4 times chance every single time there's a check.
Right.
So it's up to you guys in the future to kind of consider. Essentially how that works in role play is Talvar's like, I'm pretty sure it's this way. And Pippi's like, I think it's that way. And then Talvar's like, okay, I'll adjust my course a little bit. Talvar probably wouldn't do that.
Nah, he's like a rock.
But anyways, that's going to apply to like stealth checks or perception checks, those kind of things. Well,
Cool.
some perception checks will be, everyone has on their own sort of thing.
All right. So math was wrong. It's 22 total for
22.
mine.
Okay. Despite being in this thick fog and being distracted by geysers and razor sharp ground, you remember pretty clearly, like the direction of the battle you saw when you looked through that mirror, and pretty soon you see cut across the scales on this ground these weird curved just gouges that go all the way down. Interesting enough, these gouges are actually kind of like two, like you can see just the tips of them originating in like one point, and they seem to spread out and wrap around in a big circle around this basin.
Whoa.
I think Hugs, make a perception because you're the tallest.
8.
All right. You're looking down and Zephyr says, you know what, actually, give me a shot at this. And he jumps on top of your shoulders like you offered.
Very well.
And he says, whoa, these are, there's 2 giant bird wings carved into the ground here.
Pardon?
And there's a lot of dead people out here. Whoa. And you realize, like, as the mist kind of hovers over the ground, you see, like, a destroyed tent, and you see just a field of people just massacred all over the place. Some are in little pieces all over, but most of the dead are Serpent Clan. And you can see, too, that some of their armor has been cleaved in 2.
Oh, wow.
Which has been difficult to do with any, like, Hugs' strikes barely crack armor or pierce through it.
He did cut one in half. That one that was on fire.
That's true. That's right. Okay. So with a mighty cleave, Hugs can get through this stuff. But, like, and some of these cuts are, like, if you had shoved them through, like, a cheese grater or something. Like, they're thin slices, we'll say that.
Dang.
Oh,
Some of
wow.
these people are
terrible.
downright julienne peppered sliced sort of people.
Like talons.
That's kind of when you guys recall, like, that weird black bird creature that was floating in the sky that shot out the feathers.
Yeah.
And everyone fell down dead after that attack. What would you guys like to do in this situation?
I definitely do throw up a little bit. again.
Okay.
Every time I just see a ton of dead people, I think it's okay for me to throw up a little bit.
I want to see if I can find any signs of life or where somebody left to
All right.
find out where the ravens went.
And then I'll tell you your perception checks after your checks after you tell me what everyone wants to do. That way I can handle the order.
So, if most of the dead are serpent, Hugs will probably check with Zephyr and just be like, so we're supposed to collect these weapons, yeah?
I guess that's the goal, yeah.
All right. And he'll start gathering up all the weapons.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Hugs just starts reaching down and pick. And Talvar, make a perception check.
Oh, God, it has to be perception. 13.
Okay, that's all right. And Pippi, you bend over a little bit and just like you gag and you spit up some spittle.
Yeah.
And like as it hits this watery stuff, it sizzles like hydrogen peroxide, kind of.
Oh, God. Well, I see all these dead people, and I look to the north instinctively to see if any orbs are going that way, but to no
Any orbs?
fruition.
Like if somebody died?
Yeah, if any of my elk folk died.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You look around for faces of elk folk, and you think you recognize a couple, but it's kind of hard to tell because they're not really in one piece.
Yeah. I'm down, you guys.
And
I'm just kind of slinking around, just like pushing stuff around with my
Right.
feet, seeing if I can find anything.
So, Talvar, you think you hear a little bit of rustling or something, and it's coming from one direction. And pretty soon, just out from the fog, you just hear someone yell, "Surrender your weapons."
Pardon?
Who? We didn't quite hear that. One more time.
Oh, you didn't hear that?
Surrender
Yeah.
your
It
weapons.
says, "I'm not going to tell you again. Surrender your weapons."
Oh. Well,
Who goes there?
we're not gonna do that. Yeah, we have no
I'll just kind of
projectile
put my
weapons.
hands out in front of me. But that's it. I won't drop my weapons.
Okay. You guys say we're not going to do that, but there's just a dead silence around you, and you can't really pinpoint where that voice came from because it does kind of like refract through the fog.
Can I try to use a perception check, or is it useless because the fog is so thick?
It's pretty hard.
Okay. Can I try?
I'll give you advantage because you heard where the voice came from.
Okay. All right. Perception check. Here
Okay.
we go. 2. Okay.
You get advantage
Roll again.
Oh, all right.
because
18 plus 4.
Oh, okay. So you hear this voice, and it sounds kind of like ventriloquism. Like this guy has projected his voice out into the fog, and it sounded like he came from an odd direction.
Like thaumaturgy.
Yeah. But you realize
just
that
learned that.
Pippi, he's super close to you. And not only that, but he has this weird dagger in his hand, and it's dripping with this strange, like, it's very similar to the liquid that was on the ground.
Oh, shoot.
And not only that, but you see little dots like of people that are kind of like pushed low against the ground, and they have these black cloaks on. And it makes them really hard to see.
Guys, we got to drop our weapons. They have us surrounded. This is a serious situation. I drop all my stuff. I definitely don't. I drop my loot. Like,
Oh, okay.
Hugs is kind of like, I don't think actually Hugs has any weapons on him right
You
now.
have a battle axe, don't you?
my fists?
Yeah, he's like, I can't drop my weapons. They're my hands. I don't know what you want me to do about that.
I guess I'll put my weapons down. I'm keeping the arrows, but I'll put everything else down.
Okay, you put everything else down. And Zephyr throws down like one token dagger, but you know he's loaded. And Pippi, what did you do again?
I threw
everything.
everything. I'm just like, no,
Her instrument. She's just like, ah!
You've got to understand. I'm so befuddled. Like, so many of my people are dead around me, and I'm just I just threw up. I'm exposed, and I know this dude's behind me with dripping blood of my people. So I'm gonna drop everything,
Okay.
except for my sextant and my journal.
Okay,
So
save the sextant.
one
And
thing.
Gotta know where we're at.
yes,
you guys drop everything, and Hugs calls out into the fog, and he's like, "My fists."
Yeah, he's just like,
I cannot drop these.
can't.
And whoever this person was, the one who called out originally, he stands up and kind of lets his posture relax a little bit, and he says, "Brutish man, where did you get those robes?
It was a gift.
A gift, you say?"
Yes.
And he walks up towards you. He's still got daggers in his hands.
I was like, I would appreciate you keep your distance.
And no, he does stop in place, and he says, "My great pardon. Why are you four here?"
Hugs points to his chest. We represent Lord Velvet. I mean Lord Coral. Yes.
Yes.
And he says, "Coral." And he
From
turns.
Polestar.
And you hear him like turn around, and he starts like chattering off in Raven language, and you hear Coral and Polestar, and then a smaller second guy kind of walks up, and he talks in the ear of this first. And let me describe these people. They're both completely garbed up with this black cloth. So as far as appearances, you don't really know. But one is probably around 5'10", and the other is probably about 5'7". So they're pretty close together.
I thought you were describing ages. I'm sorry.
Oh,
They're just little children.
One's 5'10",
Yeah.
like.
All the ravens are children.
All of them.
So they're both
Yes.
relatively just medium size or regular size.
yeah. They chatter back and forth, and then the taller of the two looks at you again. And he says, "Oh, I see. Coral is one of the leaders of Polestar." And he bows real deep, and he says, "My apologies for affronting
there's
you."
no need for that.
Deleters. I'm sorry to interrupt. What does that mean?
There's
The leaders.
The leaders.
Oh, I thought you said deleters.
I
What
apologize.
about-
Am I way too quiet when I talk with him?
No, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
My headphones are terrible, but it's okay. Deleters. I got you.
That's pretty metal.
Deleters.
He's the great deleter.
He's the great deleter.
And when he
I
bows
was
low,
concerned a little bit, but okay.
and he says, "My forgiveness. I will introduce myself. I am the humble chief of this small tribe here. My name is Camille, and here is Darius."
Camille and Darius.
And Darius.
Mhm.
Good names.
To save me from two voices at the same time, Darius doesn't talk much, and when he does, it's in the Raven speech. Camille seems to be kind of the translator. Camille continues and says, "You four have approached this..." He struggles in common. And he says, you four have come here at a very precise time, I suppose. Why are you here now?
We were sent by Coral to gather the weapons of the Serpent Clan.
Yes, our mission has taken us here.
And he looks over the bodies. And if any of you want to make an insight during this conversation, you can. Probably only,
Hell
like,
yeah.
same the group mechanics, like I said, but
I'm not going to.
with disadvantage, because it's only his eyes you're going off of.
A 14.
I didn't get it. It's a 4.
What'd you say?
It's a
14.
4.
Okay. Overall, none of you can read him. He seems pretty stoic. But he says, "You must not touch the bodies, please."
I moved my foot away from the one I was kicking at.
Okay.
I just
Well, Hug's already gathered
I
weapons.
think I might have disturbed some already.
And he looks down, and this time genuine fear crosses his face. And he says, They are plagued and corrupt. Do not touch them."
Hugs like holds his breath.
Hugs, you aren't perchance wearing a very convenient pair of gloves, are you? I'm guessing that's an
Probably not.
These vestments, they do hang down past your hands, so you could use them as gloves, but they don't naturally come with any.
In
That's
other words, he was not using gloves.
Yeah,
he would
definitely
probably
not
like
using
roll them up.
so you surrender the body for now and kind of like leave it be. And he looks over you just a bit, and you haven't gotten any blood on you or anything like that. And he says, "I would ask of you to leave this place for now and come back to my camp and have some food."
Was that a question?
Hugs kind of like looks around. He's just begging no pardon, but there doesn't seem to be much to eat around here.
Can we pick up our weapons?
He nods. "You seem to be friends, but let me give you a fair warning. Any moves against me or my people will not end well for you. But we respect you and welcome you here."
Don't worry, we are here on ambassadorial business.
We're we're pretty trustworthy folks. We'll respect you as much as you respect us.
That's right. I have covered my glorious body in this hideous garb for you.
As to not
Intimidate
intimidate
your person. Really? Probably actually say that.
And you hear him say, like, he tries to mimic you to the smaller person, and Darius just kind of shrugs, and then he squints back, and then Camille squints back at Hugs and says, "Well, let's go then. This way, please." And he says. He says something to Darius, and Darius actually heads towards the alabaster, kind of back into the fog, and soon you're left with just Camille, and everyone else has vanished.
Okay, bye.
Your friend that went that way might discover there's a ship over there. I don't want him to be surprised.
Very considerate of you.
And Camille says, "Oh, we are familiar with that ship. That is all right. We've seen it before."
Okay.
Does it deliver here often?
No, it's been several years since the ocean departed.
Oh, wow.
Got that egg on your face, don't you?
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I'm so worldly. I totally knew that.
And Camille leads you pretty much straight through like this field of bodies. You can see that he has almost memorized a path to like avoid the greatest distance between bodies as he can. So it's a very weird winding path. You could have easily stepped over things, but he's dodging. And he seems to take you kind of, I guess, describing a bird, like back towards where the wings would connect to the back. If you imagine wings spread. And there's this weird big circle kind of carved into the ground. And there's a fire and a campsite set up there. And the circle is like about half a mile wide. Okay. This is a pretty big swath.
Yeah.
And there are like women and children kind of running about. And Camille steps up to his people, says something in Ancient Raven, and everyone almost simultaneously bows to you. And Camille says, "Please make yourself around at home, speaking with the villagers, and enjoy yourself."
I probably bow back to everybody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hugs will probably shout out that phrase that they were only supposed to say when they leave.
Okay.
We got to come up with something. Let's just come up with something.
Episcopalian.
No. The Raven language, it may come up a little bit later, but it has a lot of like hard K's, and sometimes it does kind of sound like a crow.
Caw, 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 caw.
No, it does not. Literacy. What does Aileen's phrase translate into again?
It translates to
May the night be your ally.
Yeah, may the night
gotcha.
be.
Alias Noctis.
No, that's in Latin.
Yeah.
I mean, the other clans use Latin. The Bear Clan uses a lot of Latin.
Oh, fun.
Based on the language this comes, like these people are based off, I think it should be something like Caracom Anis.
That sounds real legitimate.
Catacomb Anais?
Catacombus.
No.
Catacomb.
Catacomb Anais.
Yep.
Anais. Catacomb Anais.
Catacomb Anais. I'm
And-
gonna write that down.
When you yell that, you see a couple like kids like giggle and like their mothers bow again.
Hugs just kind of raises an eyebrow and it's just, wait a minute.
And Camille leans over and he says, "I told you could stay, friend.
Yes. I am here.
You had just said goodbye."
Oh, that's right.
We're new around these parts.
That's correct.
He just learned a new phrase. He's very proud of it.
Yes.
And Camille leans in close and he says, "I see you are naive, but
I don't know the meaning of the word.
perhaps..." Yeah. He says, "It is not too appropriate to use that currently
Oh.
because, you see, the most recent night was not a friend."
Hugs is just kind of glancing now. Just okay.
Well, I'm gonna go away from this conversation.
Okay.
And
I was like, no, don't leave.
I'm gonna be like, come on, you guys, let's figure out what's going on here. I would like to talk to some of these children because I relate to children because I'm a child.
Okay.
And I'm young.
All of you will have the opportunity to talk to a different person. So let's kind of just go around one at a time and see what we want to do. You want to, the children thing might actually be something.
Okay.
So Talvar, what would you like to start with?
Where's the food at?
Yo.
Now, really, that's
Way to
like
grow
the
up.
first thing Talvar would look for is food.
He doesn't see any reason not to. They already figured out what their mission was, and he doesn't know what else to do. So,
Is Talvar perceiving food or wanting to eat food?
well, he invited us to eat food. He said, "Come back to our village and eat with us."
You walk up to a pot, and there's this old man and this old lady kind of working simultaneously to cook it. And you can see that there's actually that weird silvery color in this pot, and there's some bits of like weird stuff floating in it, like meat, chunks of meat and stuff. And you know it looks like pretty toxic. And then the old man picks up what sort of looks like a beet or some kind of weird root vegetable. And he starts with like his dagger and he just starts scraping as fast as he can just the skin of this beet, and it falls in, and like the top of the soup rapidly turns into some kind of like cake, like a pancake. And he carefully like scoops that out and wipes the bottom of it, and what's left in this pot is just the most vile stuff you've ever smelled. And he picks it up after handing the cake to his wife, and he takes it out into like the fog somewhere. And you hear a distant sploosh, and then he comes back with this pot, and it's empty. And the wife takes this cake and kind of starts slicing it up and offers you a piece.
I try it.
All right.
That's the coolest way to make food.
It's like ridiculously salty, like but it kind of has a nice umami sort of flavor to it.
Ooh, mommy.
Umami.
And someone else in our group
Yeah.
recently learned how to cook.
I take out my water skin and chase it. Not the one with the blue water.
Oh, okay.
I have 4 water
Whoops.
skins, and one of them
And
has
Talbot
Roll to
dies.
figure out if
Yeah.
you chose the right water skin.
That's right.
Roll a d4.
He's quite good at managing his water, thank you.
Just not standing.
You
Yeah. It's the ground. It's not shifty like sand.
You pull out your water skin and take a swig, and they look horrified at first. And they say, "Is that?" And they quickly, the wife like runs in and she brings out this small little vessel that has clear water in it and hands it to you.
Oh, she thinks you're drinking the garbage water.
I guess I'll accept it, nod my head, and drink,
Okay, sounds good.
It's antidote.
and then fill it back up with my water skin to show that it was clear water.
And she looks affronted at first, but then kind of looks into it, and she takes she goes to sip it, trying to get your like approval.
Yeah.
Okay.
he lets her.
And she takes a sip of it, and her eyes widen, and she's like, "This is delicious." And yeah, it's whenever these people talk, it's sort of kind of a broken common language. But she says, "Where are you from?"
The deserts.
And you say desert, and she seems completely clueless. And she says, "Someday I'll have to visit desert. It sounds like a nice place." And she takes the water and kind of runs up to her husband, and they share it, and some of the kids come up and drink it. So yeah.
Must be a land of desserts.
When they start doing that, I actually hand them another one of my full water skins.
But this one has the silver
No.
water in it.
I actually want to keep
Talbar.
that. I want to keep that to find out what's in it later on
Okay.
when we're out of the poisoned air.
Little scientist, you.
Aw.
He just likes trying to figure stuff out. He's not that smart, but he likes trying.
None of us have a high intelligence.
Speak for you. Well,
I think Calvar's actually got the highest intelligence.
no, I definitely have street smarts though.
So before we continue on to paint, are you okay? Okay. To paint a little bit of a picture of this village too, where this like carving was on the ground, this is kind of a smooth surface. So there isn't that jagged crap. You can run around on it, and the water's been pushed away, so it's actually kind of dry. And also where the campfire is, like the light seems to have pushed away the fog.
Oh.
So you're not entirely sure why. If you want, you could maybe make a check, but
So
it's
light
pushed
pushes
away.
away the fog.
It seems to.
I would like to cast light.
In like the distance?
No,
Or-
right here.
Oh, okay.
So to make everything clear, I bet everyone would like to be able to see.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would also like to get a gist of how big this town is. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, So you cast light, and almost simultaneously, everyone kind of shirks away, and it's super bright. Like the campfire is bright, but your light spell is pretty bright comparatively. And
If it's super bright, sorry, maybe just in the sky. I don't know if it's like blinding.
it's
sorry.
okay. Yeah.
Screw all of you.
They attack
You're
you.
blind,
They
son.
all claw your eyes out.
And so you do see kind of like the edge of the fog sort of stretch a little bit further because of this bright light. And at first everyone jumped, but then the kids are kind of giggly and curious, and they run up to you and they try to swat at it, and their hand just like passes right through the light.
This is freaking adorable.
You have the attention of a bunch of kids because you did want to talk to them, right?
I did want to talk to them. That's what I wanted.
Okay.
Yes.
Good thing she's a child herself, otherwise
Yeah.
creepy.
I am definitely a child
Yes.
myself. That is what I am.
She's 100% a child.
I'm 110% child. Anyway,
Definitely
let's
not
talk to
19.
these children. Let's talk to these children.
All right. Begin this conversation with the little kids.
Hey, everybody.
Um,
I heard you. I see you like my light.
yeah, it's a pretty cool light.
So I
So cool.
immediately noticed that they know common.
Yeah, the kids seem to pick up on it better than their parents do.
Okay, cool. So I'm like, so hey, kids, you guys, this is a cool light, but what kind of crazy situation? You're in a crazy situation, right?
Yes. And like immediately, like one of the smaller boys like takes like this warrior stance. He throws out his hands and he says, out of nowhere, suddenly the serpents came out, and then the red demon started tearing everyone apart. And they're like, yeah, they killed Aunt Melma. No, sorry.
Not Melma's mom.
Your mom.
Yeah.
They killed Aunt Melma.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, they killed Aunt
Auntie Gertrude.
Milan.
Malone.
And one of the girls like shoots him a look, and she says, shut up. And so they describe this like red devil.
Red Dip.
And then the boy continues. He's like, yes. And then suddenly the Raven Lord came down and smited all of them, and now they are dead snakes. But the red demon got away. And the girl seems even more flustered, and she's like, they weren't all bad. I'm sad most of them had to die. That one saved my life, even though he pushed my face into the water. And she's kind of got a little bit of scar tissue. She describes this person. And then they're like, yeah. And then there was that snake girl that had the giant wolf with her. That was super cool.
Whoa, wait, hey. So what about the giant snake girl with the giant wolf?
And Pippi is like, the kids are all talking all at the same time. It's a very hectic conversation.
I would like to. Okay, the kid that's very theatrical. I give him a page of my notebook and a pencil, and I say, would you mind maybe illustrating what you saw? The red devil, you said.
Okay. I'm going to pull up a photo, actually, I guess.
All right.
This kid is that good.
He's
Yeah.
so good. Got a
'Cause-
really good look at him.
He's got 20 charisma, and it's all in performance and arts.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
He's just a savant.
So the kid starts drawing, and then at one point he runs away to go grab some, like, of this weird, that weird root vegetable that you saw the guy carving before.
Gotcha.
And he snaps it in half, and like it almost kind of looks like he like had ripped open an animal. The inside is this weird red color.
Whoa.
And he dips his finger in, and he scrapes off some volcanic stuff on the ground to make like gray and red, and
kid's
like
going to
paints
town.
like a full color.
That's great.
Found the town artist.
Yeah, right?
And he sends around a picture of this. You see this man with long black hair, and he's just decked out in this plate armor that you had seen like Aurelis wearing.
Oh.
He's got a red sash tied around his waist, and his skin has that ashen color. But they also, the little boy, so the sash is colored red, and so are the guy's eyes, and so is his sword. So I'll pass this photo around just to kind of give you like a visceral image.
Oh. This man's horrifying.
Neat.
This guy's cool. Yeah.
Yep. So,
I
but yeah,
want
great.
his sword.
yeah.
I pocket the. I'm gonna take the drawing and I'm gonna say, may I have this drawing?"
And He says, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much. And I ruffle his hair a little bit and give him a scarf. And
well,
then
you rustle his hood.
His hood, yeah. And I give him a very colorful, way more colorful than it should be scarf. I pull it from underneath my cloak and I just give it to him.
The kids stare in awe, and some of them run up and actually kind of like pet it for a bit. And they like hold it up and kind of smell it a little bit too, and it's kind of got a sweet sort of. I imagine Pippi has sort of.
I have like constant vanilla smell.
Yeah.
Vanilla and roses.
Well, it's just because they smell nothing but sulfur all day long.
Oh,
so
true.
It's just different.
Yeah, I cast spells on all my stuff to make it smell delicious.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, they run away, and then like the little girl kind of pipes up, and she says, "Yes, almost everyone had died. The Red Devil survived somehow, and so did the man who saved me and the girl with the wolf and."
Well, you know what? You don't. I know she's getting flustered.
Yeah.
You know what, kid? You don't even need to worry about any of those people. Because check this out. And I show her my cool, awesome sword that I got from the alabaster. It's like all shiny and stuff.
Silver
And delicious. And I'm like, look at that. I'm going to kill those fools.
She says, I mean, kill the Red Devil, but don't kill the other ones. They were awfully friendly.
Oh. Well, I'll definitely kill the Red Devil, dude.
Please.
Cross my heart and hope to kill that guy.
She seems a little confused by your expression, but nonetheless.
And then I ruffle her hair and walk away.
Okay, you ruffle her little hood, and you send the Jawas back into their camp.
All right. Oh, wait, Ian's still got to go.
Yeah.
If there's any other questions you want solidified, but...
I'm good.
Okay.
I figured out who was attacking them and that some of them were a little bit helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so.
And they did specifically say, too, that that thing you saw in the sky was the Raven God.
The Raven God, yeah.
That came and smited down the Serpent Clan. And you had seen a battle where there was like the Nomads, which are these guys, and the Serpent Clans, which were the plated ones.
Right.
And that feathered death storm avoided the Nomads completely.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, nice. That's cool. That's cool.
Hugs. What would you like to do?
Hugs is still probably locked in that awkward conversation about custom.
Oh, okay.
And how he shouldn't say, I've already forgotten the phrase, Karma.
Karakom Anais.
There you go. But eventually he's probably just like, ask Camille about the giant bird in the sky and why the serpent people were attacking them in the first place.
Oh, okay. And Camille says, I do not know why they attacked us or where they came from. At first, there was the geyser, and when we were running for our lives, they came right out of the shadows, popping up everywhere, and that red demon just started slicing us all down. I barely was able to keep them off, and I whispered a prayer for the Raven Lord, and behold, he came.
It's impressive. Most of are they gods?
Who?
Like the animal things?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all, well, they're these almost like powerful demigod animal-like creatures. None of them have like a real intelligence in like, they don't sit down in their thrones and talk with their people. The only one that like actively seems to be a human-like figure is the Fox Lord, who does like change shape and kind of interacts in sneaky ways. So this is like, as far as like the bear god, you've never seen him.
Yeah.
It's basically just legends.
Yeah.
So same with the eagle and the whale. I mean, the whales are known as the whales because the luminaries came.
Right.
Like they might not even have a god.
Yeah.
So,
That's rough.
but you saw the Raven God firsthand. It's been confirmed.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just, it's impressive. Not all of us get that kind of confirmation from such a being.
Well, that is because the Raven Queen fights so hard to show our respects to our Raven Lord.
Raven Queen?
And he says, and I've personally called the Queen here to consecrate this land, and she will be here, I hope, shortly.
That's the carvings, the bird wing carvings. Those
What?
Is that?
The carvings on the ground
Yes.
are a consequence of this feather storm.
Oh, I thought it was
cool.
like a ritual thing or something.
So that was when he sprawled out his wings, and then
Yep.
they just came off of his. Okay.
Yep, and kind of did a
Alright.
swooshy and a spin and massacred everything.
That's cool.
Neat. Not really sure what else to ask.
Do you notice like those cakes that
Oh,
are being
does he?
made?
Huh?
Does Hug see the food that's getting prepared?
Yeah.
Cool.
And maybe as you're talking to Camille, your eyes keep shifting
Yeah.
over, and then you see Talvar eat a piece, and you're like, "Whoa!"
Oh. I believe you said that we were here for food.
What a
Please.
segue.
Yes, please. We've been preparing as much as we can for the Raven Queen and her escorts when she gets here.
Oh, the Raven Queen is a person.
Yeah.
I seem to be operating under the understanding that the giant bird was the Raven Queen.
That's the Raven God.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Raven.
see.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question. Did the pot, were they cooking it over fire, or was it some just chemical reaction inside the pot that did everything?
No. That's like the fire they were cooking over. My bad. Like the
I'm
campfire.
going to start cooking the rations and stuff in my bag.
Cooking the ration?
Well, like
you're gonna like pull
preparing-
out like little chunks of raw meat and kind of
Yeah.
like you start cooking some rations and you share them kind of about too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like Talvar is like, people are freaking loving him. He's gave them weird water. He's given them nice tasty meats. Yeah. So people are enjoying that, and
I had
mean,
2 weeks rations and I'm using all of them.
Okay.
I just want you to know that.
on a scale of 1 to 10, how conversational is Talvar with these people?
He's not.
Oh, okay.
He's basically just making food and sharing it.
So he's like a vending machine, just like,
Pretty much.
And all they put in is information.
yeah.
That's right.
A kid pops up and he just like pokes you in the back, and then you spin around and hand him beef, and he runs away.
Hey, Danchi.
Hey, Ranchi.
Is there any way that I could talk to Camille and see if I could maybe get a few insights on thaumaturgy?
Sure.
Hey, mister, could you maybe give me a little bit of information about how you learned that wonderful spell? I believe it's called thaumaturgy.
And he looks at you funny. He says, I do not cast magic.
Well, now. All right. Well, okay. Let me rephrase. Could you teach me maybe how to do the voice throwy thingy that you did back in the fog over there?
Oh, and he does it again just to kind of demonstrate. He says, and is this what you mean? And everyone like looks up like, whoa, what's going on? And then he's just like, just demonstrating for this little one, just demonstrating.
Oh my gosh. That is exactly what I mean. That is so cool. And I want to learn how to do it.
He reaches forward and kind of puts a hand sort of at the base of your neck, and he says, go
Well,
ahead.
Fresh. What are you doing? Gosh,
Well,
you can't touch me
I mean,
with that.
you're covered
Oh,
sort of still.
All right.
But he's like, this is important. He says, and he actually just starts to hum. He's just like, no, try it, do it. No, try harder. And he says, down here, and he kind of pats you semi-aggressively on the chest,
Okay.
and you like lower your voice down there. Yeah. And then he reaches, he lets go there, and he's like, good, keep that there. And then he touches like a part of your back, and he says, also here. And like you're struggling, you're like, and then for a split second, there's like a really like vibrato kind of note that comes out of Pippi, and everyone looks around surprised.
Hugs kind of like looks down next to him and is like, yes. What the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
He says, good, you've got it, but it's uncontrolled, and now you just have to focus where.
Okay.
And so he's like, focus on the pot. And he points towards the empty pot near Talvar, and he goes, Rome. And like that pot, like it almost echoes like a Tibetan singing bowl. It rings, and Talvar, you might actually be pretty surprised that all of a sudden this bowl just starts vibrating.
Yeah, he'd probably be really fucking scared.
But of course, you jump, but the kids start clapping a little bit.
Well, I would also burn any food that I was currently cooking because it would drop
Nice.
right in the fire.
Okay.
Oh, that is so cool. I want to try.
They have singing pots.
All right. Pippi, go ahead and try to hum into the bowl using a perception. Performance.
Performance. Gotcha.
Yeah.
+8. Here we go.
You may have advantage.
20.
All right. So the bowl stops vibrating, and then Talvar, you hear a very like the same vibration, but it's like maybe 4 octaves higher. And it like gives a pretty sharp, like almost that classic, like in any video game, that crystal hum. You know, you've heard it before, right?
Yeah.
So, and he claps you on the back and he's like, "That's pretty impressive. You'll get it. Keep practicing."
I will. Thank you so much, Camille. I appreciate it. I'm so excited.
Hugs is staring. He's like, I want one of those singing pots.
So is this can I use this now? Is this a thing that I have?
I would love for that to be some kind of skill.
All right. Is it a spell or is it a cantrip or what is it? It's just a skill that I
Could
have.
be just a performance.
Yeah,
check
I
thing.
would actually give it to you as a feat.
As a feat?
Ooh.
So go ahead and we'll figure out the full effect of it later, but just put down something like raven voice projection or something like
and
that.
then in parentheses, thaumaturgy.
Fushroda.
It just blows
Yeah.
up.
I want that pot.
Raven voice projection. Gotcha.
Yep. All right. This is the point in the game where it says, if you'd like to save, do so now.
Yes.
Is there anything you guys would like to do?
Hugs will tentatively ask if he can have that pot.
Because it sings.
Okay, who do you ask?
Collectively to the people around the fire.
Please, yell it out.
I would care for that singing pot. It is quite interesting. I would like to have it, if possible.
I will continue to make it sing throughout the series if we have
It
this.
sings again.
And they look around
It
confused.
wishes to be with me.
All right. Yeah, you see, like, everyone sees you pointing at the pot when you're like, singing pot. And they're like, what? And then they, like, this is a smallish thing. It isn't huge. But this woman picks it up and then she brings it over to you and kind of holds it out.
Hugs will take it, assuming that she means to give it to him.
Yeah.
So he like grabs it and holds it kind of closer to him and stares at it, and he's just like, "Sing." Oh, look at that! Look, they're happy to see me.
I'm like tapping Camille, like, did you see?
The bowl starts to vibrate and like the woman almost laughs hysterically under her little cloak, but she gathers it up real quick and kind of bows to you and then leaves. It goes back.
Yes, Akalaka Manudis.
Kids just start like,
And in the pot I say, Carcomanias.
It speaks.
I probably can't talk yet. I
okay.
can probably just hum, yeah.
Zephyr walks up and he's like, dude, you gotta give it a name. It's alive.
You're right. Maybe I call it Kettlebird.
Kettlebird.
Kettlebird. I like it. Do it.
Kettlebird, away! And he'll walk over to show Pip.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Look, this is Kettlebird. It's just a singing pot. Go ahead, don't be shy.
I definitely don't make it sing right now because he's looking right at me. Or is he looking at the pot?
He's looking at the pot.
Okay, so.
Ah, gee, look at that.
Whoa, it's amazing! What a
Pretty
good
cool,
pot!
right?
What did you name it? You
Kettlebird.
obviously Oh, excellent. Kettlebird. I write it down.
I found this week's episode's name.
Kettlebird.
All right. I think that's good. You guys all just kind of have fun throughout the evening, mostly at Hugs' expense.
Yes.
And then, fading out of the fog, you hear some kind of drums. And then as it gets closer, no, there's some drums, but that's actually someone using that raven voice projection to sound loud. And then you see things twirling in the fog. You see perhaps 4 pretty large people. They might be orcs. And they are projecting their voice out into this fog. And then they kind of turn their voice down, and you hear singing from 2 smaller people doing this spinning dance, and walking in between them, tall, about maybe 7 feet tall, and elegant, with this long dress that actually just hovers off the razor-sharp ground and doesn't touch it. This is the Raven Queen approaching you. And, notably, the 2 women that are sort of dancing and singing as escorts, they are almost naked. They are stripped down to like basic, almost kind of like tribal like cloths, but it's not brutal. Like it's very purposeful, and there's like very delicate beads that are spread between like sort of where you would have like kind of like a bra strap and like this short sort of twirling dress skirt like thing. It looks very ornamental. And not only that, but both of them would be pretty pale, but their skin is tan from the sun, but their skin is flawless. There's not a blemish on them, and there's no sun damage. And when they get close, you actually see Camille pull back his hood, and he's got a pretty, like, his face is like got pock marks in it, and he looks pretty terrible.
Whoa.
You actually see him reach up kind of around his cloak, and there's a sort of braided cord that he starts to untwirl and pulls back his clothing. And he's wearing a much more simple undergarment, but like his entire flesh is withered, and it almost kind of looks like, if you've ever played Dark Souls, like withered dark people.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
When this escort gets close, you realize that everyone has kind of started to do this, and there's a faint light that actually starts to emanate off of all of them, and you see their skin start to stitch back together and repair itself to that almost perfection of these 2 singers.
Whoa, what?
I would like one of you or all of you to make an insight check. Or I'll allow 1 insight and 1 perception, both heavily weighed.
Do you want to do insight? I'll do perception.
20. Yeah, I'll do okay, yeah.
Right.
I mean 20, yeah.
14 for perception.
Okay. How does Hugs react to this situation? It's very odd.
Yeah, this is interesting. But then as soon as he sees like everyone like derobing, basically, Hugs like takes this as like an all go, and he's just like, oh yeah, and he just throws that robe right off.
Just his arms like a
He just
like
flexes.
a falcon.
Yeah, he just flexes and it just
For the queen.
yeah, for the queen.
Everyone is looking at the queen, but like as you just like poof, like throw off this robe, there's a kid that catches the attention, and he like is O-faced and just like dumbstruck at like, how tall is Hugs? Like 6
Hugs
foot?
is like 7 feet.
No, he's 7
7'11".
feet tall.
He's
He's 7'11". Yeah, he's almost 8 feet tall.
So there is just like 7 feet of Schwarzenegger
Almost
perfected
8
body
feet.
with these like tattoos, and they're like kind of pale tattoos
Yeah,
too,
it's
right?
like part of his skin, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And like little like rock parts jutting off of his elbows.
And the
like,
scars
little crystalline
everywhere.
things. Yeah, scars everywhere,
Yeah.
though.
he's sick,
Yeah.
but a different kind of sick than these people.
This small child is amazed in like the Oxford English Dictionary version of the word. Pippi, you're more focused on this procession, and one of the women who are just spinning and dancing, and they are just like a drug-filled fugue. Like they are just almost shaman-like in their
They're hypnotizing.
kind of, yeah, like that. But one of the sisters, the smaller of the 2, even though she's dancing just as passionately and singing just as loud, her eyes are calculating. She is basically scanning over everyone's face, and is very... And when she sees Hugs, her eyes widen, not in the wow way, but like there's something. And the Raven Queen is, and like the singers all see Hugs, and none of them react like she does. This procession moves into the town, and the drummers kind of spread out in a circle around, and their voice kind of mellows down to more of a drone versus this like epic thing. But there's still a light drumming, and these 2 sisters dance around the town just long enough until everyone seems to be like their skin is all just back in this perfect order. And then everything dies down, and the sisters get quiet and just stand beside the queen saying nothing. And the queen walks up and approaches Camille, and she gives the most quaint of bows. And Camille bows back, almost touching his head to the floor, if that was possible.
Oh, wow.
It's a flexible dude.
They speak back and forth to each other in Raven, and then Camille kind of does a little pivot and kind of holds his arms out towards you, and then the Raven Queen addresses you for, and she says, "Oh, so you are escorts of Lord Coral?"
Ambassadorials.
I see.
Ambassadorial.
So he has decided to send someone in his stead.
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
someone's.
We're the chosen ones. And I say it like, you should know, but it's okay.
Did you say we're the chosen ones?
Yes, I did say
As
that.
quietly as possible.
Talvar takes off the mask, but just stares at them quietly.
And she says, I certainly respect the status that you come with, but I do not care about that in the slightest. There's something more pressing about 4 random, seemingly, adventurers coming here the night after the geyser. And still going off of your insight, like, you almost detect sort of like a tremor or something out of the smaller girl. And the Raven Queen says, there's something very important I must speak to you about then. She looks out over the battlefield. Now you can see that for some reason or another, the fog had crept away as she was approaching, and now it is fairly large, and you can see the entire battlefield, and it almost has like a fog wall surrounding it. And she says, but first, I need to conclude some business here. And she waves out to the bodies, and the drummers walk out and start picking up the weapons and the armor.
Oh, interesting.
And not only that, but then kind of rumbling, you hear some kind of cart or something approaching, and they start piling up the weapons to the side. They're kind of stripping down people and taking stuff out of it and putting it down, but then they start stacking bodies onto the cart. And they're diligent to take every single piece. And that happens over a period of time. Once they have set to their work, the Raven Queen returns, and you guys are kind of just outside of town, and everyone is giving her respectful distance. It's only her and her 2 escorts talking with you 4. Camille is even back a ways. And she has this book that she retrieves from one of her dancers, and she says, I'm not sure you're aware, but this is a prophetic moment. And she holds open this book and starts flipping through it and gets to a page, and she turns it around and shows you. It shows this cliffside, and it is broken open, and there's something spurting out. And then you see 4 people standing around the base of this geyser. And then she just hands it out and lets you all see it. She doesn't let you take the book. But she says, and what would you say of this?
I want to sketch it really quick.
What do the people look like?
It's a very simple drawing.
Like stick figures?
Mm-hmm. But not stick figures. It's not like cave painting. But they're kind of silhouettes. The thing you can gather from it is that it's not like they're depicted in these robes. It seems like their armor is a little bit more jagged, and so basically what I'm saying is they're not nomad tribe, it seems.
Who are these 4 characters?
Perhaps they are you 4.
Whoa.
What does the prophecy say?
She takes the book back and closes it, and she says, that is not to be entirely shared with outsiders, but what may interest you. And it says, the 4 travelers will come from the destroyed ocean the night after the rending, and will bring this land either prosperity or ruin. The end is not written.
It's not going to be ruin. I mean, we're pretty good people.
I mean,
And like when you kind of giggle about that, like a very serious face like falls over her. She's pretty stoic, so when just minor details change, she goes from like peaceful and sort of regal to like kind of horrifying in almost a split second. Like,
I immediately shut my mouth.
I'm going to give her a little piece of Deicite.
Oh,
really?
Yes.
You
You
like
have
just
like
kind
big
of
pieces though, is the thing.
I have a lot of pieces.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. So jealous.
You okay. You hold out a little piece of Deicite, and she kind of gently holds out a hand and kind of takes it from you and stares really deep into it for a moment and says, "This is a curious artifact."
It's Deicite.
And she does hold it up, and she repeats it. Deicite.
Deicite.
I can't stop from laughing.
I hate that I want to keep doing that joke.
It's a good joke though.
Just because it's hugs. Anybody else, it wouldn't work.
No.
You can see that the Raven Queen is having difficulty sort of like dealing with your demeanor. But you get that mostly from her servants. The taller sister like glares daggers at Pippi. And the smaller one is upset, but in a very like gears are grinding. She's trying to think really fast kind of way.
I'm not worried about those two.
The Raven Queen looks over this piece of Deicite and she says, "This is a curious artifact and proof of your divine quest, I imagine."
Oh yeah, from that god dude.
Yes.
And her eyes,
That god dude.
and God, dude.
Yes. Deicite.
His name's Daedalus.
Dale.
Daedalus?
Daedalus. Yeah.
Daedalus.
Diddly ding.
Diddly dingus? Daedalus.
And she looks over and says, "I do not know what you speak of, and I do not wish to.
Oh.
This is knowledge for you four. Whatever your quest may be, I will assist, provided you tread carefully. As I said, your actions could lead our people to ruin. And that's certainly not going to happen while I'm around."
Well, then stay around then. Then nothing wrong will happen. It'll be great.
She says, "Tonight we have rituals to deal with, and tomorrow I will speak more of you on the matter. I have a quest most important, but I must send these bodies back to the capital, and along with their equipment."
No, you can't do. Sorry, ma'am. You can't. We have a mission.
And her head just sort of pivots towards you. And she says, "This is part of your mission?"
Yes, to bring home every single weapon that we see from those snake folks. You can take their clothes and stuff, though. That's totally fine, but just not their
Albeit
weapons.
somewhat creepy.
And like the bone armor and stuff you'll take too.
Yeah.
She says, "The divine have come to take the corrupted from this land, I suppose."
Oh, it's cool. All right.
But she continues, and she says, "I will keep the bodies, though."
Totally fine.
Yes. Please do.
Yeah. Probably give them burials. Maybe burn them. I heard they're plagued. It's probably not a good thing.
She says, "Very well. Then I have to attend to some business out in the fields." And she turns and walks towards the center of this battleground. And I mean, even though she's kind of creepy, kind of ominous, she seems to be a very important person.
She is their queen.
And she kind of walks out into the field. And where she walks, there almost is a shadow that kind of falls over the ground. And when she passes by, the blood that was all over is gone. So the two handlers stand perfectly still when the queen walks off. They seem to have a lot of verbal or nonverbal communication or something. And they spin and go back to town. And the evening sort of progresses a little bit normal. It's not as jolly. And everyone has donned their equipment again. But they reveal their face this time. Yeah, and Camille is actually... He looks like a fairly old man. Like he's probably 60 or 70, but his control of his voice is pretty just superior. as you've noticed. though.
Excellent. yes.
Excellent.
Just when everything started calming down, I went and found a more isolated place and started trying to replicate the beat, the song that they were playing as they came in on my pan flute.
Ooh.
Because it was drums.
The rhythm.
Ting, ting, ting.
The rhythm more than
yeah.
yeah.
So you start to try that. You can roll a straight up knowledge check or a performance check and see if you can actually get the song right on.
17 performance.
Okay. It takes you a little while, and you probably have to write it down. But you do kind of piece together this little melody.
Cool.
So, others?
So the escort ladies are in the town.
Yes.
Hugs is probably schmoozing on them a little bit. These are the only other people that are dressed like him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they have nothing to cover them pretty
Yeah.
much. But if Hugs hasn't put on his stuff yet, then he looks kind of off, I guess.
Yeah, he probably hasn't put it on yet. He's probably just enjoying his freedom a little bit. Yeah. So, but he'll probably walk up to the two of them with Kettlebird and just be like, "Look, a singing pot."
I don't
call
notice
him
this.
Kettlebird.
I'm not going to notice this.
So these two sisters who look very similar, they kind of you hold out this pot and they stare they stare very unimpressed at this piece of cookware.
He's
And-
like looking down.
But you see almost like a hint of amusement on the smaller one's face, and she says, "Kettlebird, huh?"
Yes, seems a little bit shy right now, but I assure you it's a singing pot. Maybe he's just as shy around beautiful women.
Oh, you-
Yes.
The younger, who is at this point you can judge maybe around like 16 or something.
Whoops.
Yeah. But the older is definitely older, and she seems rather unimpressed still.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Hugs does not notice.
16, you say?
the elder says, "Okay, where do we go from here?" And she stares at your pot.
Well, normally he starts singing by now.
And the smaller of the two, you just hear like a little like, tweet, tweet.
Ah, look at that.
And the sister's like,
Okay, this is painful. Can I notice it this way? And I go, oh, shoot, what do I do?
you can notice if you're not preoccupied with anything more important.
I'm definitely just staring at the queen because I feel bad because I offended her so much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I definitely offended her
Well-
and everything she was about.
You stare out in a longing over kind of towards the queen, but then, or not a longing, but like you stare for a period of time.
Remorseful.
And then you just hear Hugs making quite the ruckus. You can turn around.
Okay, and I'm like, whatever it was.
Ah, there he goes.
I would like a performance this time.
Okay.
Which will probably be a thing as you use this skill in the future.
All right. Performance, let's see. 19.
Oh, okay. So the smaller of the two kind of leans forward and goes, tweet, tweet, and you're like, there it goes. And then it's just like, ooh.
Ah, there he is. Kettlebird at his finest.
And you actually, you catch the smaller one like off guard. She like jumps back a little bit because, but the older of the two is just like, it leans over and says something in Raven, and then the smaller is like, oh.
It's
bringing
he just is
vomiter to you.
beaming, just so happy.
She says, for a bird, it doesn't have many feathers.
Ah, ha, ha, you're right. I like you.
You can.
I noticed that they're giving him a hard time, and I don't appreciate that. So I come over and I'm like, well, it's not a literal bird. I mean, it sings like a bird. That's why, that come on now.
Monkey gets it.
The smaller of the two turns and she says, that was a joke.
Huh, that was a joke.
I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
It was a good joke. If it was trying to be a joke, then that was a good one.
It's all right, Monkey. Not all of us can have the
All right.
sheer force of wit as us two.
All right, calm down. I just walk away.
So, yeah, you've been wearing down the smaller. She seems to crack a smile and show a little personality. The other one is fighting hard to be like stoic, and this is duty. This is a job right here, sort of thing. So
Hugs is just kind of eyeing her more and more, just like,
yeah. If you want to joke around and stuff, you can.
Yeah. He'll eventually probably cook a little bit.
Yeah.
Since
Okay.
everyone's kind of here.
Oh, that'd be
He'll probably
awesome.
cook the two of them like a meal or something.
Okay. You guys start to prepare a feast, and they have food already prepared. Like, some of these are sort of cake things, but then you also see that they actually produce some kind of, like, this weird white meat that it looks pretty flawless. It looks like some kind of fish. And so it's very delicately, like, laid out and stuff, and they offer those to the, I guess, I don't want to keep saying escorts. That sounds bad. But, like, the dancers.
What are your names?
That's
What
true.
are their
He probably would ask
names?
them. Yeah, he'd be just like, so,
Yeah.
do you two have names?
So you walk up. The smaller kind of looks towards her sister, and the sister says nothing. But nonetheless, the younger one says, well, my name is Umbra.
Umbra.
And then she looks up towards her sister, and the sister says, you may call me Soria.
Soria. Umbra and Soria. Gotcha.
Soria. Well, I would like to actually do a full 180 and start talking to Soria, the younger one. Or Umbra, the younger one.
Okay.
And I want to say, so, how long have you guys been... How did you get into the escort business? How does one go about doing something like that?
Underage.
And Soria, like, she growls. She doesn't growl, but she, like, kind of, her teeth grimace in, like, a snarl almost.
This is your choice to be this, right?
Umbra says, this is a very respected position, and we are daughters to the queen.
Oh.
Shoot.
And
Princesses.
Oh, wow.
Hugs bows a little bit. He's like, I'm sorry.
though you do hear under Umbra's breath, she says, of sorts.
Princess of sorts.
Like different fathers? What kind of situation is this?
Whoa.
Pippi has no filter.
I mean, family is family. I don't care what people think.
No, Soria says, we are daughters of the queen.
Okay. All right.
Ooh.
I'm just going to back off.
Okay.
That's interesting, though. Cool.
Talvar, is there anything you wanted to do? The night is falling, and Camille at one point comes up and ushers you to, or doesn't usher, but points out a tent. Then it is apparently yours.
Okay.
The four of you.
Yeah, he'd just end up practicing that song until he went to bed.
Oh, okay.
Unless somebody else stops him, so.
Perhaps at one point, Camille does walk up, and he says, that is a very holy tune.
Probably best not just play it
Yeah.
willy-nilly.
I will not stop you from memorizing it, but do be careful around the Queen's Guard, please.
All right, he just starts playing it in his head then.
Okay.
Well, he saw how it healed all the people, and so he's like, what if there's some like magic in the song itself?
Oh, snap. That's a good idea.
Hugs, anything?
Hugs would probably, after the whole Raven Feast thing, probably try and make some kind of dessert thing.
Oh.
Like with whatever they bring on hand. Like, I don't know if we're tracking like what we have on ourselves as far as that stuff is concerned.
I have been.
Yeah, Talvar actually seems to have some kind of herb-like thing that you could probably use to cook
Okay.
with, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's roll a cooking check, which could be a mix.
And I have sugar if you need it.
Heck yeah.
Pippi has sugar.
Yes.
Why?
Of course, because she's Pippi.
Because she's Pippi?
I mean, I have sugar.
Okay.
Like, for sure.
I think
And
cooking.
all my food stuff is gone.
I would like for you.
Because you made it all. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I want to do something fancy with cooking. I don't want to just do like nature check.
Yeah. Well, I have culinary tools that is basically like you are proficient in
Sure.
these tools. So I add my proficiency plus, I guess, whatever is good for the situation.
I would like. This is going to be a series of checks.
Okay.
First, charisma.
Ah,
Flat out.
charisma check. Do I add my proficiency?
Yes.
Oh, okay. A 17.
Okay. Now a wisdom.
I'm so impressed that he knows how to cook.
A 21.
Okay. So, you seem to both have know-how and sort of like a love you cook into your food. Hugs has a very passionate style of cooking.
Yes, he does.
And it pays off. You've made... What kind of dessert would you make?
Let's see. Some sugar and herb stuff. Oh, can he make mochi?
Sure.
Mochi.
It's like sugar and kind of ginger and herb
And beans.
and stuff. So
Yeah.
Dude, make mochi. Oh my
makes
God.
mochi.
It's so exciting.
So you're kind of looking over, and you know it requires some kind of starchy thing. You don't have that. But then you take a look at one of these root vegetables, and you actually realize it has sort of the texture of a potato.
yeah.
So do you use Kettlebird or no? You wouldn't use Kettlebird. Or
He
would you?
probably does because it's a cooking thing and it sings.
right.
So maybe he's like humming along as he's doing and kind of expecting Kettlebird to hum along
All
with
right.
him.
So I imagine Hugs just kind of sets down one of these large beets, which are sort of like the size of like a small kid's head, like maybe like a small coconut sized. And you put this down in Kettlebird and you're just like, wow, and just pulverize the crap out of it. And you're just like, blam, blam, beating the crap out of this thing until it's a fine kind of starchy paste like mochi.
Yeah.
And you form it in, and like that red goopy junk in the middle, like turns it this like really kind of cool pink color. And yeah, you make some pretty nice mochi kind of things.
Yes.
Do you need to fry it or no?
I could probably cook it just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. For this one, not so much. Because he doesn't really have oil or anything like that to fry it in. So
I mean, if you need potatoes,
that's right.
that's all I have.
So
And sugar.
you eat and everyone enjoys, and even Umbra and Soria take some, and Umbra happily eats it, and Soria kind of pecks at it a little bit, but seems to kind of leave it alone. And at one point, Umbra just takes her bowl and eats it too. Night falls, and you guys go back over to your tent. Okay. The sounds of ravens kind of caw in the distance, and you can still hear the shuffling of the Raven Queen kind of like moving around. And you hear her actually shuffle by your tent, and then she goes back into the battlefield. She is making these kind of like circles, and to kind of like clean up the entire area. And then that's when you hear a small rustle, and you see just kind of the glitter of dark hair in the darkness, because the campfire is completely out at this point too. Someone has entered your tent. Obviously it is dark, and the person who has entered the tent can't see. She doesn't have dark vision. And you guys know immediately. It's Umbra.
What are you doing here, Umbra?
I have something I need to tell you. And I don't have long before the queen comes back. About that prophecy, she left something out. And Umbra kind of like taps her forehead like she's trying to remember. And she rattles off a few Raven words like Sarak Ken Toros Las Grigori. And she says that. And she says in common, it would be the four are the servants of the bird that changes fate. The bird named, well, we call it Grigori.
We're not anybody's servants.
That's why I need to talk to you. I'm fairly certain you're not those four.
Oh, cool. That's a relief.
Well, shoot, you guys.
Well, Pippi did say we were the chosen ones.
We are the chosen, but maybe not her chosen ones. There are many prophecies.
She leans in a little bit close, and she says, "The Raven Queen's going to kill you." Hey guys, thanks again for listening to Reforged Podcast.
Please make sure to rate, subscribe, upvote, like, all that good stuff on all of our social media.
And please make sure to leave us a review. We've already gotten a number, and they've been really great. We're going to try and get like a list together and start reading them on the show or something, because we want to make sure that like everybody gets to kind of be a part of it. And we just really appreciate you guys leaving those reviews.
Absolutely. And we just love hearing from you guys in general. So please join the community. You can find us on Twitter at Reforged Staff. Additionally, if you want to just find me, Austin Rasmussen, you can find me on Twitter at Trenchmaker.
And if you want to find me, Zoe Shane, you can find me on Twitter at Zoe with Umlaut.
And if you want to find me, Ian Early, I'm on Twitter at Brother Tortoise.
Catacomb Anais.
Catacomb Anais.